So you want to be a full-time reseller. Now the first question I want to know is why? Why do you want to be a full-time reseller? And let me see if maybe some of these might pull at your heartstrings. I hate my job. I hate my job. I hate going to work every day. I hate the people I work with. I hate what I do. I just hate everything about it. I hate the managers. They don't pay me enough. I'd rather be reselling. Okay. I moved. The company said that we could work indefinitely from home, and I moved 2 hours away. Now they're telling me that I have to go back into the office, and now I'm going to commute 4 hours a day. That's not going to happen. True story. That's actually been happening more and more. Or this scenario. You're driving by. I saw this yesterday on the way to get some food. Wait a minute. McDonald's is hiring at $14 an hour. Minimum wage in Georgia is only, what, $7.25? So almost double minimum wage. You know what? It may not be ideal, but if I needed to, I do what I got to do. I'm going to pay my bills. I'm going to do what I got to do. If I need to go work at McDonald's for a while, I can. So I'm going to quit my job. It's available. Everyone talks about how everybody's begging, pleading for people. If it doesn't work, I'll just go work for somebody else. Why should I not resell? I am so sick and tired of working my derriere off for other people to make money. I make them money. My managers get a bonus because I've worked hard. Everybody else gets a piece of the pie except for me. You know what? If I list more and I sell more and I grow more, I make more money reselling. You know what? I'm just going to quit my job. I had a baby. I'm on leave, maternity leave, and I don't want to go back. I've enjoyed spending time with my baby. I think if I can just figure this out, I can stay home with him or her. No. So leave in the comments, what are some things why you want to quit your job and be a reseller? So first of all, let me tell you about who I am. So my name is Jocelyn, and I am a reseller. I may be part-time, I may be full-time, and that's sort of what this video series is about. And I like to give people some information. And what I started to see was, I was in Facebook groups, and I was seeing people popping in and asking this question: who is a full-time reseller? And you'd get pop up, me. But then there was no follow-up question. I'm like, okay, there's more to being a full-time reseller than just a quantifiable number, yes or no. So let me pose to you some scenarios. And this is just scenarios off the top of my head. Not saying like these are actually what really truly happens. You say, who is a full-time reseller? And maybe you follow up with at least a question, which I see a lot of people don't follow up with any question. And you say, how much money do you pull in a month? Now, some people may find it intrusive and may tell you, some people don't. And some guy says, a guy or gal, my profit is $15,000 a month. And you go, man, $15,000? Guess how much you pull in profit? Yeah, that's how much I pull in every month. How do you do it? I buy $30,000 worth of pallets every month. And I have a warehouse. And you go, oh man, it's just not in my wheelhouse right now. I really can't do that. So someone else says, yes, I do. And you say, well, can you give me a little bit more information? At least that tells you, ask you for a little bit more. Can you give a little bit more? Sure. I make $1,500. And you go, $1,500? How are you living? Well, I pay my husband. He works full time. He has a full-time position and get all of our benefits and stuff. I would never really rely on this fully as a full-time job. I'm not a full-time reseller because I'm a stay-at-home wife or stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad, whatever the case may be. And you go, okay, well, that's really not an option because maybe you are the breadwinner and you don't have somebody else. Or maybe you're single. You don't have anybody else to pull in an extra income. Then a third person comes in. I do. How much do you make? I make $5,000. I clear $5,000 a month. You go, okay, that's a bit of a stretch, but maybe, not so bad. Maybe that's about what you're making a month. Well, what do? I stay at home with my parents. They pay for everything. I don't pay rent. I don't pay for food. So I just go out and I shop all day and then I sit and play video games. Okay. Then a fourth person. Well, I make $10,000. And you say, what? Yeah, I buy stuff at thrift stores and I flip them and da-da-da-da. Maybe I have an Etsy store and I make things. And you go, okay, this sounds more like me. And so as you can see, there's 3 people before you that you've even got to the person that sounds like you. And that's the problem that I see, is that there is no one right answer about what it takes to be a full-time reseller. And I decided that I really got tired of looking at these comments and wanting to scream and grab them by the shoulders and shake them and say, you have got a lot more decisions to make beyond just yes or no answers, or even beyond just what do you sell, where do you get your products from, what type of items do you sell. There's a lot more to it. And so I decided to make a video about going from a full-time job to being a full-time reseller. And the issue was there's so much things that are involved that I said, I can't do this in one video. I'm going to break them up. So I'm actually going to break them up into 7 different videos. The first one is the introduction, to tell you about, what are some things you're contemplating. First of all, you're not alone. There's a lot of people that want to do it. Some people can do it successfully, and some people need to go back to their job. And I hate to say successfully, because if you decide to go back to a job, it doesn't mean you're unsuccessful. Let's just say that certain people take different paths. Some people end up going back to work full-time. Some people decide to go back to work part-time. Some people decide that they can still continue on. And there's a lot of different reasons why. If you have a mortgage and you have a family, you got kids that are about going to college, a job, reselling that's making $5,000 a month may not be ideal for you. But if you're a college student, I didn't make $5,000 working as a college student. So all of those things matter. First of all, let me state also that this information is for information only. This shouldn't be considered any professional advice. I'm not a professional. I'm not an advisor. I'm not a financial advisor. And I would very much suggest that you never take any real advice from anybody off of YouTube, Facebook, about whether or not you need to make the decision about whether you should continue to work full-time reselling, or you should quit your job. By all means, you need to talk about this with other people and make the decision on your own. This is just for information only. So don't quit your job and say, Jocelyn told me to quit my job. No, I didn't. I told you to watch all the videos and think long and hard. So I'm going to give you a lot of information over 7 videos about what it was like for me to go very recently. This just happened back in February, where I went from a full-time job over to full-time reselling. And then there's a little bit of a twist, which is I got a job offer. And the thought is, what were the things that I had to do? And I'm going to go through basically mostly everything that I did to decide on whether or not I was going to continue to be a full-time reseller, or whether I was going to go back and be a full-time employee for somebody else. So that's the first part. This is what you're watching. The second one, I said, let's look at pros and cons. Right? So there are pros to being a full-time reseller, so that's part 2. The third video is the cons. There were some cons. So I did 20 and 20 to make it even. Even number of pros and even number of cons, because there are 2 sides of the coin. As flat as a pancake is, Dr. Phil says, it's always got 2 sides. Then the fourth thing is, the fourth video is my transition from full-time reselling, and what was it like? How did it happen? I'll be honest with you, and I'll tell you exactly what happened and what was it like. What were my days like? What was things like? How did I feel? Was it a glorious every morning I woke up and I'm like, I'm a full-time reseller and this is awesome and this is great? Or was it like, oh my gosh, what the heck did I do? I made the biggest mistake of my life. What do I do? And then part 5 is the job offer. And I did consider the job offer, and I went through and I said, I'm going to lay out everything. What is everything that I need to think about? And oftentimes what I see is people think of their replacing their job, their money, and maybe health insurance. And I tell you, there was a whole lot more. So I think part 5 is going to be really important for you if you're really on that fence and you're like, I don't know how to make this work. It's not about really how you can make it work, but considering all the aspects of how it makes it work. And then part 6 is the decision. Am I still a full-time reseller, or am I working a full-time job? I don't know. I'm going to tell you. And then part 7 is more like a hodgepodge of information to kind of redirect yourself when you're getting motivated. Maybe you do have to end up going back to work, or maybe you are reselling and you're in the slimmer slow down and you're so unmotivated because sales are slow and you're starting to freak out because you're like, oh my gosh, people aren't buying things. What do I do? Let me preface it also, so that's the videos. Let me preface it also is that the information I give is going to be relevant to me. How I am is going to be different from everybody else. I live in a suburb, which is going to be different from someone who lives in a city or the rural area. I own a home and I have a garage, so I can put stuff in a garage. It's going to be different from somebody who lives in a condo or living with their parents and who tells them, you can't bring all that crap in my house, right? It's going to be different for people. I don't have children. People who have children, it's going to be different for those. But I think I'm going to give enough information that you're going to make an informed decision about whether or not full-time reselling is going to be relevant to you. I'm going to try to pop these out as fast as I can. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and let me know again, what are some questions you have? What are some things that you're contemplating about, that you're unsure about whether or not to be a full-time reseller? So that's all I got. I'll see you in part 2 when I talk about the pros of being a full-time reseller. Thanks. Bye.